Hi there, Fix That Car here with a video on water leaks. Now, how does water get into your car? Rainwater, that is. And there's two principal areas. There's the bulkhead and there's the rear lights, which are common areas. A telltale on this particular car, looking in the boot here, you can see there's mould growth on both sides. In fact, this car has got water leaks from both rear light clusters and from the front bulkhead. First of all, I'll show you where the water's getting in through the rear light clusters. Typically, rear light clusters are set in place with butyl rubber. This is butyl rubber. It's like a non-setting chewing gum. So on other models you may need to take the light cluster off and reseat it on some fresh butyl rubber. Not so for this car. This is a Corsa C. And the problem here is that the bulbs here in the rear clusters will have been replaced, but the rear cluster hasn't been set properly on either side. And I'll just show you what's likely to be happening here. Right, so we lift it away. And leaks will be taking place here and here, because there are two missing rubber grommets there. Quite likely here as well. As you can see, the water runs down here, and if there's the slightest gap, it'll go through into the inside of the bodywork and down into those areas I've shown you. And here we have a solution to the leaks around the rear light clusters. It's a new grommet, and with a Stanley knife I've cut a little cross shape to place that in the hole. Make sure it's neatly in. I've done one there as well. And this should give us a watertight seal with the rear light cluster. It's done on nicely. Two screws to go in and job done. Bulkhead water leaks. Typically inside you'll find water in the front passenger and driver's footwell. Here it's in the driver's footwell, quite a lot of water. Passenger footwell reasonably dry. So there's a rainwater leak through the bulkhead onto the floor of the carpet there. So let's take a look. If we look down here, I don't know if you can see, there's leaves and various bits of debris. And similarly down here, what's probably happened is the drain holes have blocked up with the debris. The water's built up and rotted through the seals that prevent water getting into the passenger cabin. So I'm going to remove all of this, including the wipers, so we can get in, take a close look to see what's wrong. I think we'll start by removing the wipers. A little bit of plastic comes off there. Good, that's coming off. We may need to use a puller to remove this wiper arm, or it may just come off. I think we'll use a puller. Let's take this nut off as well. Okay. Got a puller here, which may or may not work. Let's see if we can get it on. Now I've removed all the plastic covers here, and what I found was a bit of a mess really. There was all sorts of plastic and gaffer tape and silicone sealant, which I've removed and cleaned up. The problem, the reason why this car is leaking, is this joint round here where there's a plate that holds the brake servo in place, that's held against the body with a mastic sealant. That had been covered with a silicone sealant. What I've done is I've gouged out the old mastic. In fact, the leak would be down there at the bottom. Water runs either side, down there and out through this hole into the engine bay. So I'm going to use a caravan sealant, seam seal. This is non-dry embedding sealant. It's a horrible sticky item, but it will hold that water back. So just applied like any sealant. Pressed firmly into that groove, and I'll go around the whole lot now. So how does this stuff fit back together? I'll show you these four things: the wiper motor, the pollen filter housing, the washer bottle and the drain plug. I think we'll start with the drain plug, that's perhaps simplest. There's two of these, one down there already in place. This is the one that we've taken out to clean, and I'll place that in there, click home, and that is done. The wiper mechanism is perhaps the most interesting. There are three fixing points here. There's two bolt holes and there's a little U-clamp, and the way this fits in place is to first of all engage the U-clamp with that rubber grommet at the back. That's a case of pulling the thing across, then putting the two bolts in place. That's number one. And the other one this side. And there's electrical connection. So that's the wiper mechanism. The washer bottle, there are three connections to this. There's the rear washer, the front washers and the electrical connection. The first connection to make is the rear connection, which is down here. Just pull that up so you can see it. So that's a push fit, like that. Just lift the lead up, slot the bottle into its bracket there, just literally pushes down, then push home the electrical connection. That'll connect to the washers on the cowling when I put that back in place. Finally, pollen filter housing. I'm not going to do anything special here. I've cleaned up the mating faces. There's a soft sponge water seal. There won't be much water down here, and I've put a brand new filter in there. And this is held in place with just 4 simple little Torx self-tapping screws. Like so. Battery. In common with most cars, this is held in place by its base. There's a piece there that protrudes, and there's a piece there that protrudes. And the way it fits is in the battery tray, and it'll engage with that piece at the end, so you need to slide it over as far as it'll go, and the clamp, those two things fit in that groove. And the clamp bolts down and holds the battery firmly in place. One point to note here is not to over tighten this particular clamp. The captive nut is often nylon, although the bolt is steel, and it's very easy to shear that captive nut. The final stage is to dry everything out. I've got an old towel here which I can press into this wet area and soak as much up as possible. I've also undone all the windows, got the car standing in the sun. I'm hoping this is going to do the job for me. In the boot, take the spare wheel out, mop everything up, and again leave it to dry. It might be necessary to remove this seat and lift the carpet to get air underneath it, but I'm going to take my chances and see what the sun does for me. Thank you for watching.